Imagine buying a brand new phone in 2026, only to realize it's already using last year's technology. That's exactly the situation many people might face with the upcoming Google Pixel 10a. On paper, it's Google's next budget-friendly Pixel, but leaks suggest it could be a mix of wins and letdowns. And depending on what you value in a phone, this might make or break the deal. Here's the rundown. The first big headline is the processor. While the Pixel 10 series just introduced the Tensor G5 chip, the Pixel 10a is rumored to stick with the older Tensor G4. Now, the G4 wasn't exactly a powerhouse even when it launched with the Pixel 9 series, so carrying it over into 2026 feels like Google is holding back the 10a. It's not a bad chip. Day-to-day tasks, browsing, and even moderate gaming will still run fine. But if you were hoping for flagship-level speed in a budget phone, like Google did with the 9a, you'll probably be disappointed this time around. Design-wise, don't expect anything new either. The Pixel 10a is likely sticking with the same look as the 9a, slim, clean, and without the bold camera bar that older Pixels were known for. It's a safe, minimal design, and while it doesn't scream flagship, it's functional and understated. Meanwhile, Apple and Samsung are going all in with massive camera islands on the iPhone 17 Pro and Galaxy S26 Edge. So if you like the sleeker, less flashy look, the Pixel 10a will keep that style alive. But let's talk about one of the big positives, the display. The Pixel 9a already delivered surprisingly good brightness, hitting up to 2700 nits at peak. For context, that's enough to use comfortably outdoors in bright sunlight. The Pixel 10a is rumored to push that even further, up to 3000 nits of peak brightness, matching the Pixel 10. That's seriously impressive for a budget device, and could be one of the 10a's strongest selling points. If you care about watching videos, gaming, or just being able to see your screen clearly outside, this is a big win. Now here's where things get tricky. Google has been heavily marketing its new AI features, things like Magic Q and Camera Coach, as the future of the Pixel experience. These rely on the Tensor G5 chip, which means if the 10a ships with the G4, it won't get them. That's a problem. Imagine buying a brand new phone in 2026 and it doesn't support features Google hyped up the year before. For casual users, maybe this won't matter, but for people excited about AI-driven tools, it's going to feel like the 10a is already behind the curve on day one. And then there's storage. The Pixel 10 series has finally moved to UFS 4.0, which offers roughly double the data speeds of UFS 3.1. But guess what? The Pixel 10a is expected to stick with UFS 3.1. Will most people notice? Probably not. Apps will still open at a reasonable pace, and general performance won't suddenly feel slow. But when you compare it directly to the Pixel 10, the gap will be noticeable. Faster storage isn't just about loading apps. It also helps with file transfers, multitasking, and overall system responsiveness. So, if you're looking for that extra level of smoothness, the 10a might fall short. So what does all this add up to? The Pixel 10a looks like a phone designed for people who want the Pixel experience, clean Android, reliable cameras, and Google's ecosystem, without paying Pixel 10 prices. The brighter display is a real highlight, and the streamlined design will appeal to people who prefer subtlety over flash. But the compromises are clear: an older chip, slower storage, and no access to Google's latest AI features. Personally, I think the Pixel 10a could still find an audience. Not everyone cares about cutting-edge AI tricks or top-tier speed. Some people just want a solid phone with a great screen, clean software, and consistent updates, and Google usually nails those basics. But the bigger question is whether Google is cutting too many corners this time. The Pixel 9a stood out because it gave you almost flagship-level performance in a budget package. The 10a feels like it's stepping back from that formula. If the leaks are accurate, the Pixel 10a might end up being a good phone, but not a great one. And in a market where mid-range devices from Samsung, OnePlus, and even Chinese brands are pushing harder with performance and features, Google will need to rely heavily on price to make the 10A competitive. So, is it worth waiting for? That depends on what matters to you. If you want the latest AI features and fastest performance, the Pixel 10 or 10 Pro are the better bets. But if you're okay with skipping some bells and whistles, the Pixel 10a could still be the right balance of price and practicality. Either way, one thing's clear. The Pixel 10a won't be the budget powerhouse the 9a was. And that shift alone makes it one of Google's most interesting and maybe most divisive phones in years. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.